50 mind-blowing facts about the Battle of Gettysburg. Fact 1. The battle almost didn't happen in Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg occurred by accident. Confederate troops entered Gettysburg looking for shoes and supplies. Neither side had planned to fight there, but circumstances drew both armies into the small Pennsylvania town by July 1, 1863. Fact 2. The town had only 2,400 residents. Despite being the largest battle in North America, Gettysburg was a small town with just 2,400 people before the conflict. The population was overwhelmed by the arrival of nearly 165,000 soldiers during the three-day battle. Fact 3. Over 50,000 casualties in 3 days. The Battle of Gettysburg saw over 50,000 soldiers killed, wounded, captured, or missing. It was the bloodiest battle of the Civil War and left fields littered with the dead, making it a somber symbol of war's horror. Fact 4. The first shot came from a Union cavalryman. The first shot at Gettysburg was fired by Union Lieutenant Marcellus Jones on July 1, 1863, using a borrowed carbine. His shot initiated a battle that neither army had fully planned. Fact 5. General Lee didn't want a battle. General Robert E. Lee preferred a political, not a military solution in Pennsylvania. He hoped a Confederate victory on Union soil would force peace talks, not trigger a bloody 3-day engagement. Fact 6. The battlefield covered 25 square miles. The Gettysburg battlefield spanned more than 25 square miles, including ridges, farms, orchards, and hills. The scale made coordination difficult, and fighting often occurred simultaneously at distant points. Fact 7. Devil's Den was a natural trap. The rocky outcrop called Devil's Den became a deadly trap. Union sharpshooters took position, but Confederate soldiers overran them. The rocks made it hard to escape or remove the wounded. Fact 8. The peach orchard was soaked in blood. A peaceful peach orchard turned into a killing field. Confederate assaults crushed the Union lines there, and artillery tore through trees and men, leaving the orchard filled with carnage. Fact 9. Little Round Top was nearly lost. Union Colonel Joshua Chamberlain and the 20th Maine held the extreme left flank at Little Round Top. Outnumbered, they fixed bayonets and charged downhill, saving the Union line from collapse. Fact 10. Pickett's charge was a mass suicide mission. On the third day, 12,500 Confederate soldiers marched across open fields toward Union lines in Pickett's charge. They were slaughtered by artillery and musket fire. Less than half returned. Fact 11. Civilians hid in cellars for days. As fighting raged above, Gettysburg civilians took shelter in basements. Some shared cellars with wounded soldiers and dying horses, trapped in darkness and terror for 3 days. Fact 12. Abraham Lincoln wasn't invited. First, Lincoln wasn't the keynote speaker at the Gettysburg dedication. Edward Everett was. Lincoln was a late addition, but his 272-word speech, the Gettysburg Address, became immortal. Fact 13. Soldiers were buried in shallow graves. After the battle, many soldiers were buried in shallow graves marked with sticks or names carved on wood. Wild animals and weather unearthed the bodies, horrifying townspeople. Fact 14. Ghost stories still abound. Locals and visitors still report seeing ghost soldiers, hearing drums, and feeling cold chills. Gettysburg is one of the most haunted places in America due to the immense bloodshed. Fact 15. The Union nearly lost Day 1. The Union Army was driven back through Gettysburg on Day 1. Had they not regrouped at Cemetery Hill, the Confederates might have won the entire battle then and there. Fact 16. African Americans were captured and enslaved. Even free black residents of Gettysburg were captured by Confederate troops and sent south into slavery, despite living in a free state. Fact 17. Medical tents became butcher shops. Surgeons worked non-stop in field hospitals. Amputations were done without anesthesia, with piles of limbs outside tents. The wounded often screamed through the pain or died of infection. Fact 18. General Reynolds was killed early. Union General John F. Reynolds was shot and killed on the first day while deploying troops. His death was a major loss, as he was one of the Union's most experienced and respected field commanders. Fact 19. Cemetery Ridge was the key line. The Union defensive position on Cemetery Ridge formed the fishhook line. Holding this high ground was critical in withstanding repeated Confederate attacks and ultimately securing the Union victory. Fact 20. Cannons fired over 600 rounds per minute. During the height of battle, artillery barrages filled the sky. Over 600 cannon rounds were fired every minute at times, shaking the ground and deafening soldiers for miles around. Fact 21. Women served as nurses and spies. Women like Clara Barton tended the wounded on the front lines. Others, such as Gettysburg resident Jenny Wade, died while baking bread for Union soldiers, killed by a stray bullet. Fact 22. Lee's spy failed to deliver. Intel General Lee relied on cavalry under J.E.B. Stuart for reconnaissance. Stuart went missing for days, leaving Lee blind to Union troop movements, leading to disastrous battlefield decisions. Fact 23. Dead horses clogged the streets. Thousands of horses died in battle. Their corpses filled roads and fields, attracting flies and disease. The smell of decay lingered in Gettysburg for weeks afterward. Fact 24. The angle was the bloody climax. Known as the high water mark of the Confederacy, the angle was where Pickett's charge broke against the Union line, resulting in brutal hand-to-hand combat and horrific losses. Fact 25. The battle changed the war's momentum. Gettysburg, coupled with the fall of Vicksburg, marked a turning point in the Civil War. From this moment, the Confederacy began a steady decline toward eventual defeat. Fact 26. The slaughter shocked Europe. European nations, especially Britain and France, were monitoring the war closely. The massive bloodshed at Gettysburg convinced them not to recognize the Confederacy as a separate nation. Fact 27. The wounded cried for days. The fields around Gettysburg echoed with the cries of the wounded for days. Civilians were haunted by the sound of suffering men begging for water or mercy. Fact 28. The Irish Brigade fought like lions. The Irish Brigade charged through open fields under withering fire. Despite massive losses, they pushed Confederate lines back and earned respect as one of the war's fiercest units. Fact 29. Confederate soldiers looted Gettysburg. Confederate soldiers raided stores and homes for food, shoes, and supplies. Though under orders to respect civilians, desperation often led to looting in Gettysburg's streets. Fact 30. Gettysburg became a massive open graveyard. After the battle, every field, farm, and orchard was littered with bodies. Farmers found corpses in wells, barns, and gardens, turning the land into a gruesome graveyard. Fact 31. Confederate ammunition ran out. Many Confederate units ran dangerously low on ammunition during Pickett's charge. Without proper artillery support, their chances of success collapsed as they neared Union lines. Fact 32. A thunderstorm ended the battle. A heavy thunderstorm broke out shortly after Pickett's charge, soaking the battlefield and ending the final Confederate assault, a symbolic moment as the battle's bloodshed ended in rain. Fact 33. Thousands died without names. Many bodies were never identified. Union dead had name tags or were documented, but Confederates often had no ID. Mass graves became the final resting place for thousands of nameless men. Fact 34. Lee took the blame. After the defeat, Robert E. Lee offered to resign. He took full responsibility for the loss, but Jefferson Davis refused his resignation, keeping him in command. Fact 35. Gettysburg had over 500 civilian casualties. While most deaths were military, over 500 civilians were wounded or killed, largely from stray bullets, collapsing buildings, or infection, while helping the wounded after the battle. Fact 36. Jenny Wade was the only civilian killed. Jenny Wade was baking bread for Union troops when a stray bullet pierced her door and killed her instantly. She was the only civilian killed during the battle. Fact 37. Gettysburg Address lasted just 2 minutes. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address lasted barely 2 minutes but changed American history. Though short, it powerfully redefined the Civil War as a struggle for equality and national rebirth. Fact 38. Dead were exhumed for reburial. Bodies were initially buried where they fell. Months later, they were exhumed and moved to the New Soldiers' National Cemetery, often in horrific condition due to decay and poor records. Fact 39. African Americans helped bury the dead. Many of the grueling burial duties fell to African Americans, both free and formerly enslaved, who endured horrific scenes and unsanitary conditions for little or no pay. Fact 40. Soldiers' National Cemetery inspired Arlington. The design and purpose of Gettysburg Cemetery influenced the creation of Arlington National Cemetery, linking the battlefield to a national tradition of honoring war dead. Fact 41. Artillery created a constant roar. Veterans described the sound of Gettysburg's cannons as a continuous earthquake. The roar was heard 25 miles away, shaking houses and terrifying residents. Fact 42. Horses were buried in mass pits. Over 3,000 horses were killed and had to be buried in huge pits outside town. The stench forced residents to cover their faces with cloth for weeks. Fact 43. Union troops used telegraph wires. Union forces used portable telegraph systems to communicate between command centers, revolutionary for the time and vital for coordination across the sprawling battlefield. Fact 44. Gettysburg was Lee's last northern invasion. After his defeat, General Lee never again attempted to invade the North. The failure at Gettysburg marked the end of Confederate offensives into Union territory. Fact 45. Over 20 generals were killed or wounded. The Battle of Gettysburg claimed the lives or bodies of more than 20 generals, 10 Union, 9 Confederate, showing the brutal cost at every rank. Fact 46. Some bodies remained undiscovered for years. Despite cleanup efforts, skeletal remains continued to be found for years afterward in fields, under porches, and even in barns, long after the war ended. Fact 47. Lincoln was ill. During the speech, Lincoln was suffering from a mild case of smallpox or typhoid when he delivered the Gettysburg Address. He was pale, weak, and feverish, but still delivered history. Fact 48. 5,000 orphans lived in Gettysburg's wake. The staggering casualties left thousands of children fatherless. Orphanages opened to care for them, including the National Homestead at Gettysburg, later infamous for harsh conditions. Fact 49. Bullet-riddled trees became memorials. Trees hit by hundreds of bullets during the battle were left standing for decades. Locals and veterans called them witness trees, and many still stand today. Fact 50. Gettysburg is still a military case study. Today, Gettysburg is studied in military academies worldwide. Its tactics, terrain, leadership, and turning point status make it one of the most analyzed battles in human history. Thanks for watching The Forgotten Past. If you enjoyed the journey, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a hidden story or untold truth. New discoveries await. See you in the next video.